I kind of figured the way that people digest music now, you know, if you drop an album, it's great if you drop we were going to drop a 16-song album because they're all ready to go.
Okay.
And I just thought 16 songs, that's done in like a couple of weeks. And let's keep the content, let's keep drip feeding, let's keep putting new stuff out, new music videos. And it really helps with our kind of, I guess, our fan base looking forward to new stuff, at the algorithm of stuff, the regular, you know, you can always rely on LZ to bring something new out. And we thought, well, let's do that.
Hey, what's up, Lindz? How are you, man?
So I'm so sorry, dude. That took me an age to try and figure that out. My bad.
No, it's all good. I saw you kept coming in.
I kept coming in, and then it would literally mute me, and I couldn't figure that out. But I think it was the agreement thing I had to hit that I couldn't see it. But
oh yeah. All good, man. Good to see you
again, man.
I'm doing well. We actually met 2 years ago. A little.
We did,
over
yeah. You're right.
Yeah, you told me that we were the first podcast you had ever done. I thought that was really
That's
cool.
right. Yeah, come on. That's amazing. Good memory. I'm sat in the sun. I'm sat in the sun with my kombucha and just kind of chilling out and having a bit of a rest. So,
there you go. Amazing. Yeah, last time we chatted, you were in your attic.
That's right.
in quarantine
my quarantine style. It was awful.
Yeah, in your fever cabin. Or cabin fever. Right. Yeah.
Cabin fever. Come on.
Well, it's so good to see you again. I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. We got your backstory a bit last time, so I kind of want to pick up. We'll recap that a bit, but I believe the last time we talked, you had just released I can't remember, Music Brings Hope. Maybe was that it? No. It would have been Only Hope.
Only Hope, that's right. Yeah. That was a lockdown song.
Yeah. So you had just put that out, and then you had just started working with Saints. So
that's right. Wow.
That's where we had left off.
Come on, man. You've got a great memory. Either you've done your research or you've got a great memory.
More of the research speak.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Full disclosure. I definitely had to go back and I obviously remember the conversation because I remember us talking about snowboarding and you having that crazy story about having to snowboard down like a Black Diamond Hill
that's right.
At dark or something like that.
That was for the music video. Mate, it's the scariest thing in my life. That was.
Yeah,
not to be repeated.
And I love the video you guys recently put out, where you're in the snow, and
that's called Same Line. And I flew to Iceland with the team, and M CKEN, who sings for Afrojack, and he's actually just featured on Swedish House Mafia's album.
Oh wow!
He's based in Cali, so. One of our guys who used to be in the band has actually set up a video and filming company in Cali. So he drove him into Death Valley. Yeah,
that's right. And he's like walking through the sand dunes.
That's right. So you got Death Valley, and then you got a completely different black sanded, like massive backdrop. And I think the sentiment of the song, this Same Line, is, you know, when you unite under something and you kind of unite for the better good of people and purpose and all that kind of stuff, you start walking the same line wherever you're from. So we're just kind of trying to connect those two things.
Yeah, it's a beautiful video, man.
Yeah, man, it's cool. It's pretty epic.
Yeah. Well, let's start back to the beginning. Originally from Windsor, is that what I said?
Yeah, Windsor, the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead.
Yeah. Must have been obviously a tragedy for everybody losing the Queen, but
oh man, yeah. I
remember you said you're a massive fan of hers prior to obviously all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the monarchy at the moment is kind of polarizing in whether you like them or not. But with the Queen, you just couldn't not like her.
Right.
She just served, and she wasn't political. She just served for the best of the country and was like an advocate for everything good about, not just about England and the UK, or just about everything good in people. And that's what I loved about her. She was amazing.
Well, what was it like growing up there?
I mean, we'd go and see every Saturday morning. We'd go and see changing of the guard and like watch the big bearskin hats kind of march up and down. And it gave you a real kind of, I guess, like a sentiment of like the world's bigger than this. And it's kind of like, look at the, you call it pomp and kind of, and pageantry. And, sometimes we can really forget our kind of roots and, where we're, not just where we're from, but just the kind of what makes us up as people. And being around that stuff was just incredible because it lifted your head. You kind of realize there's so much to like. And then you followed her journey around the world and the impact she had on other people's world. And I was able to see her on my doorstep. I was just like,
oh, wow,
it's just another level. And it's funny because it's not celebrity. It's really different. It's not, you don't look at her and go, you're the most famous person on the planet.
Right.
But
although she was the most famous person on the planet.
you kind of think she's like your favorite gran. Do you know what I mean? Like favorite grandma. And that was the way she was. She was approachable. She wasn't kind of like separated. She wasn't high and mighty. She was, you know, she loved her faith. She loved what she stood for. She loved people, and it was just amazing watching that.
Yeah. Wow. And how did you originally get into music? Do you come from a musical household? I know you kind of started off in the DJ scene, but I'm not sure how you originally got into music.
My parents are musical. My mum used to sing, and my dad used to play the fiddle. And
wow.
So we'd always have music in the background in our house, and it was almost like a second love because I loved sport and I was really sporty, played football, soccer, basketball, all that stuff. And then, you know, music kind of crept up on me when I was about 13, 14 with the whole DJ scene, setting up a set of 1210s in our mates' kind of garage and covering it with camo, you know, like combat gear, making it look all kind of making it look all gangster, and then thinking we were DJs. And so I always had these two loves, which was sport and music. And I think music just came along, and there was a band that were auditioning for some people in Manchester, which is like 3 hours north of us. And they did some real hard house EDM kind of music. And I thought, oh, I'll have a go at that and see where it goes. And I had quite a good sort of foundation in that world in London. And at the same time knew that, you know, music's got this amazing ability to reach people for the better. And our first LZ7 show was in a young offenders prison. And you saw the lights of these guys' eyes come on as we started to share our stories and do the music. And, you know, they started break dancing, and one of them started his head spinning, and he comes running around. I think he's going to punch me on the way past, thinking, you know, and he didn't. He did a backflip off the wall, and the whole place just went mad. And I was like, oh, this music's got this connective way. You know, when you go and see bands like Coldplay, and you are my universe, you just like, it just lifts your spirit, doesn't it? Lifts your everything about you. That to me is the power of music and the catalyst, and that's why I started, really.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you said you saw the band, or that group was like you saw them at a festival, right? And they kind of announced like, oh, we're looking for another member.
Yeah.
Were you just at the festival as a fan and just?
I was there as a punter. Like I wasn't particularly a fan. I walked into their show and saw them, and they said, oh, you know, we work in inner city Manchester with the hardest to reach people group, young people. And I was like, oh, I like that. You know, that's the sort of thing I'd love to do. And then I saw the connectivity that it had with me and other people, the music. And I was like, wow, flip, if this is doing this to me, imagine what we could do with this to other people that are really hurting, or, you know. And we focus a lot on kind of mental health, purpose, well-being, anti-suicide, anti-self-harm, and just like, not just focusing on those topics, but really inspiring people to live their life on purpose. And I think music does that. And that's when I saw this band, and I was like, that's done it to me. Flipping heck, that's going to do it to other people. So that's why we kind of started the LZ7 journey.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I just want to touch on the fact that your dad played fiddle. Was that something that you picked up at all, or?
No, I didn't. No. This is the crazy thing, man. My first instrument was a flute.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I'm like a 6'2" dude. Like I'm not like a short little guy, and I'm quite sort of hefty. And I pull out this flute a bit like Ron Burgundy, like a jazz flute. And I was in an orchestra, and I played till I was about 13, and then I realised actually I just look too big for this flute. I need to do something else, something a bit cooler. But not the playing flute isn't cool. It's very cool, and I can still read sheet music, and I can still, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. So you had that, you have that foundation.
Yeah, and I transitioned to saxophone to make it cooler, and then it was either sport or being in this orchestra, and I chose sport, but I still engaged in like the DJ stuff, and, you know, organized parties and DJs at these parties, and just kind of just built the kind of music, I guess the background catalog from there, really. But yeah, my dad playing the fiddle, he used to just get up and start playing it, and then he taught himself the guitar, and we'd just hear him around the house kind of playing stuff. But I think our first album that we ever heard when we were little was Paul Simon, Gracelands.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, You Can Call Me Al, and we'd just bounce around to this song as like little ones, like tiny little kids. And my dad was like, "Oh, this is the best vinyl you'll ever see. This is great." You know, he was moving on from sort of Beatles and Rolling Stones and Motown, and Paul Simon was like the next sort of thing that came around. So we grew up on that, really.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
So with like, I mean, playing flute and then into saxophone, what made you, I mean, it sounds like sports kind of took over, but like, how did you get into like the EDM dance music, like kind of DJing? Was that stuff in music? Were you already interested in it kind of while you're playing those other two instruments?
Yeah, we used to have all these like breakdance parties at school, and like the school disco would have a dance off. So I was always into the dance stuff. And when LL Cool J brought out his "Mama Says Knock You Out," I must have been like early teens, and I just used to dance, and then I ended up going to Ministry of Sound, and then Bed, and then Fabric, and this whole movement of like what the music does to move you and just moves your emotion and captivates your imagination, and you're suddenly in this euphoric state. And I definitely wasn't part of the drug scene at all. Like I didn't do it. And I think some of that was because I was doing sport, and I was doing it at quite a high level. So I knew that I'd get tested, but I still loved that kind of like euphoric Ibiza anthem type thing. And so when we got back to our place and we set up these decks, I was like, yo, we could just beat mix this stuff and see if we can start rapping over the top and start, I don't know, just creating some stuff over the top. But that was totally behind the scenes, off radar, just for the love of it. And then when I got to Manchester, I started to realize, I can actually write like top lines, and I can write bars, and I can learn how to be a front man, and learn how to win people, and learn how to work a crowd, and learn how to really engage with the crowd. And I think everything that I do now as a performer, like frontman on stage, is everything that I would want to see in a frontman. Do you know what I mean? Like 15-year-old me would want this guy to go, stick your freaking hands up. Like, yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's what I do. And I'm kind of thinking, what would little Lindz in the crowd want from me? So as the energy goes out, it comes back, and it goes out and it comes back. It just gets wilder and wilder. And there's people that I really admire. One of them is Chris Martin, because Chris Martin can hold a 100,000 seat stadium just off one vocal, and he's amazing. And obviously it's not controversial, but Travis Scott is a really good frontman.
Oh yeah,
he knows how to work a crowd. I know that there's been some tragedies with him, but
that doesn't. I mean, he's still a great performer, right? I mean,
oh yeah. And as far as his show's concerned, like I'm kind of halfway between those two things. Of Travis Scott will get a kid out of the audience and give him a brand new pair of sneakers just for going wild and being there, because he really appreciates them being there. That's me. And then Coldplay, Chris Martin will win everyone by just saying, "You're all welcome. We're part of one big family. You're home. This is safe." And that's me as well. And I'm like in between these two worlds of like crazy party white boy and kind of like real sentimental. This is the energy that music can do, and the message we share in between the tracks is what I would want to hear as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. Chris Martin's a funny guy too.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah. I used to be on the radio for almost 2 decades when before I started this podcast, and I remember one of our afternoon guy interviewed Chris Martin at the Hollywood Bowl in LA, and he told him, he's like, yeah, last time I was here, I saw Depeche Mode, and they played one of their whole albums in its entirety. Like, do you have anything special planned for today? He asked Chris Martin, and Chris Martin's like, oh man, yeah, we were actually going to just do a bunch of Depeche Mode covers the entire time. Like, he just gave him like this. It was just so funny, like how quick he was to respond. And when I saw that, I was like, I love this guy. That was so funny.
Yeah, he's great. The thing I love about the Coldplay stuff, and this is something that really works, and none of it's fake. It's really genuine. So when he gets, he plays each city, and he gets an artist from each city up with him. So
I didn't know he does that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So in Manchester, he got up 2 local artists on the 2 nights, 2 different artists, one night, one the other, and the place went wild because all he did was honor them. He said, thank you for signing into the music of this city. Thank you for representing this city, and Manchester, make some noise for. And this lead singer got up from one of the bands, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like what a moment to be alive to witness that. And that's what I love about that guy. And he's got, similar to me, he's got a kind of churchy background as well.
Yeah, he does. Definitely.
He does. He grew up as a vicar's kid, and I feel like that's a real kind of synergy there of understanding. His song, "You've Got a Higher Power." I'm like, something there, man. There's something there that I click into with my kind of faith background as well. And that to me just really inspires me as well, that people, that it's not they don't want to hear it, they want to click into something that's beyond themselves, and he's very good at doing that.
No, 100%. When did you start off kind of as far as like musically at all in the church? Like I've interviewed a lot of artists that kind of cut their teeth like performing either, in the worship band or whatever it may be. Did you take part in any of that?
No, it wasn't my thing at all. Like it was literally bedroom DJ or bedroom MC. And I'd pick up a mic and think I was a real badass just for spitting some bars over some stuff. And the worship stuff, and I know loads of worship guys and loads of churchy guys that did cut their teeth in the bands. And that's probably, if you think about where's the one place that you're going to play every week in front of a crowd and learn your skill, hone your thing, church, because you've got 3 services on a Sunday, you've got a drummer there that plays 3 services, he's learning new songs, he's going to get good. And a lot of the guys that back up people like Stormzy and Justin Bieber, they're all church guys. And I'm like,
even Justin Bieber was started in the church. He started.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a big believer that a lot of talent comes out of that kind of genre.
100%, 100%. Yeah, you're playing to an audience every time. It's not like you're playing some bar to 6 people. I mean, you're playing 3 shows to a massive crowd every single night or all day. When you joined that one group, I didn't ask you last time, but I'm just curious. Like, were you the front man of that group that you joined?
No. I was a kid. They were a lot older than me, so I was like early 20s, and they were kind of they were just a lot older than me, so a lot more kind of skilled in what they did. And I sat in the background. I used to break dance, and I'd dance, and I'd jump up and do like 2 or 3 raps just to learn the skill. And because they went into so many high schools, you'd take like school assemblies, school lessons, workshops. You had to learn it on the spot quick. So it was like a really sharp learning curve of how to win. So if you think about 250 grade 10s sat in front of you on a Monday morning and looking at you like you landed from Mars, just like, what the heck is this? Yeah. And by the end of it, they're jumping up and down and they're on their seats, on their chairs, like having the best rave ever in their lesson. That's like a learning curve of how to be a frontman. So I went from 2 years of kind of sitting in the back and learning, and just I still say this, every day's a school day now, but every day's a school day then, to really like glean wisdom off them. Like, what are they saying here? How are they doing that? How's this one guy doing this? And what's he said there that's won that? And it really helped me to get to the point where when I set up LZ7, that I knew these different kind of techniques because I'd watched and just learned from other people that had been before me. So no, I wasn't a frontman at all. I was a frontman in stature, as in I really wanted to be, but I knew I needed to learn.
Yeah, you kind of got a chance to not only perform but to kind of see what elements of what they were doing you wanted to kind of pick up and bring into your own project. Exactly. I love that you were a dancer. My son, actually, my younger son, he's in hip hop dance, and he has his recital practice like he's at his like recital practice right now, and then the big recitals tomorrow, and he loves it. It's so cool. And just seeing the kids that are a bit older, like 16, 17, that can do flips and like killer break dance moves. I'm just like, God, I wish I would have gotten into this. But my son digs it. So it's cool to be able to kind of live through him wanting to do it. Yeah,
exactly. To be fair, you're kind of dodging a bullet because it hurts when it goes wrong.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I used to run up the wall and do a backflip and flip off it, and 2 steps up the wall and backflip and stuff.
Oh my gosh!
And I can still do it if we stick a mattress down. I can still do that stuff. But one time the strobe was going so hard in one of the sets, the wall was moving.
Oh man!
So I sprinted towards it and I put my foot out and I went bang, and I hit the wall lower than I should have done. So I hit it down here instead of hitting it here. And I went backwards and I just landed on my neck and it went, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what the heck has happened? I thought I'd broken my neck. So you've dodged the bullet there, mate. Just if your kid's young enough, he's going to bounce and bend. But when you're older, it hurts.
When you're like my age, 38, there you go. It wouldn't be a great idea to start now.
No, exactly.
Your first show with LZ7 was at a prison. You were just kind of talking about that. What like, was there something, and like, what kind of drew you to, because I love what your guys' message is, and you put on these big parties, and you do all this stuff in the inner city and in prisons and stuff,
Yeah.
all, around, not only violence with, knives and guns and all that stuff, but mental health. What
Yeah.
kind of drew you to that, or like early on? Like, was there something that you were like, I really want to help these kids?
Yeah. I think, like I kind of touched on it a minute ago. Like I was always the kid, particularly with some of the faith stuff and the church stuff. I was always the kid in the background, like stood on the edge, who wanted to engage but didn't really know how to. And some that you said about some of the worship guys and the church guys, like I didn't really connect with that sort of way of expressing my faith in that, if that's the best way of saying it. And
Okay, yeah.
but I went to this one event and they had a DJ, they had an MC, they had a bunch of break dancers, and then this guy got up and he just shared a little bit of his faith and a little bit of his journey, and I fully was zoned in, like listening to it. He could have dropped a pin in my head, and it just dropped, and it worked. And I just thought, music is a catalyst, and it's a universal language that can cross all those barriers. And I know that I look like Chef Ramsay's little brother. I've said that before. And
Yeah, you told me that last time.
Yeah, and people,
that's
people
not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. No, not at all. And I do sound like him as well a little bit. But when we got up in front of the school kids, it was great. And then I just thought, the message of what we're trying to say doesn't change, but the method does. So let's go a bit old school. And I was in the band, I was dancing in the band, I was doing the hip hop stuff, I was rapping, and I was like, I'm going to go back to my roots, and I'm going to try let's go back to being a DJ and an MC, and just be a little bit more kind of like purposeful about reaching that type of person that would react to that stuff, like me, like little me. And I said, and this opportunity came to come and do this gig in a prison, and I was like, yeah, man, let's just have a go, let's see what happens. But honestly, bro, before I went on, my hands went green, my face went green. I was just like, this is gonna bomb. And honestly, 20 seconds, the whole place went bananas. And the prison officers were looking at me going, and I was going, I think it's all right, man. I've got the mic. Like, I think this is going to be cool, because I'm gonna bring it right down in a minute into like an ambient sort of drum and bass bit, and I'm gonna speak over the top, and it'll capture their attention, because that would have captured my attention, and then bring it back out to an absolute vibe. And it worked. So that's where the LZ7 stuff came from, is like this light and shade of, bit like Chainsmokers. Chainsmokers do it really well. They go from something just like this into like, he'll talk about something and he comes back out into like a remix of one of his tracks. That's a different method of doing stuff. His message of what he's trying to say isn't changing, but his method is. And I think that's why I thought, let's go and do a prison and see what happens. And it just took off. Like, it blew up.
Yeah, from there you're doing a bunch of schools, and then your first record went like, it was like top 20. I mean, you made it into like BBC One and everything, right?
UK charts, UK dance charts. I mean, even the last single, the one that we've just done now in the Iceland America one, is #2 in the UK dance chart.
That's
so we've just
huge,
continued
man.
that kind of trajectory of push the clubland, push the regional radio, push dance radio, push specialist radio and promo, and see where it gets, and just create the biggest platform we can as an indie. And that's where it started, from kind of switching up the method.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys have done is so amazing, and the fact that you've been able to stick to, you're not only basically your roots with doing all these things for kids. I remember even during the lockdown, that was a big thing that you were doing, as far as you guys were like recording live streams, right? And then sending that video, like the videos, out to schools and then they could show it to their students. Like, I just love what you guys are doing and the message. And then obviously the music is speaks for itself.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, dude, you guys are great. I'm curious too, is like, especially during the lockdown, right? I mean, you hear stories, not that mental health wasn't a big deal prior to that, but like the fact that everyone was isolated and staying inside, and like drug and alcohol related stuff went up a lot, and like domestic violence and suicide and everything. Was it hard to, or I would imagine it would be hard, but like to reach out to people, because you're definitely like a mentor to these kids, like having people that will be vulnerable with you and kind of tell you their story, but then you're not able to go out and touch the people you know, in person. Was that a difficult thing? Would you set up like how are you able to still kind of connect with your fans like that?
We threw literally everything online. So all of our mental health resources, our follow-up stuff from our schools weeks, they all went online, and we'd specifically direct people to. So our mental health resource is called I'm Possible, which is a play on the word impossible.
Oh yeah,
and it's impossible.uk.com. So every time we did a cabin fever or a live stream, I'd say, if you're dealing with this stuff, click that link right below. And honestly, bro, you had 2,000 to 3,000 people turn up to each show, and then you'd go live with them, and then realize that they're watching the show, but behind them is their dad, and he's there watching, bouncing, because so you're reaching whole families, and it's one person on one device, but it's not. It's actually 4 people on one device because everybody's locked down. They're not going anywhere.
Right. They're not going to four screens set up.
No, totally. So you've got this amazing. It was almost like an amazing opportunity to reach to the kind of online demographic, and push some marketing into it, so that TikTok marketing, Instagram marketing, and just kind of reach our demographic, like specify it, and then say, look, come to this show. We're going to put on a show. And I think I spoke to you when Cabin Fever was going. We turned that into a thing called Illuminate Live, and Illuminate is the lesson schools tours. Illuminate Live was this live gig that we did in a warehouse, and it holds 2,000 to 3,000 people. We just shipped in CO2, the biggest lights, the biggest screen, so it looked like a live show. 8 cameras, no one in the room, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever done. But it was the progression on, and we'd have this massive 70-inch screen in front of us with everybody online talking to us, leaving us comments, and I'd just refer back to them as if they're the crowd. And
you were able to see them. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
that's such a rad idea.
If this was the stage, the tech guy had a massive, great big screen just here that you could see in shot, but we'd be bouncing around, do the songs, and then I'd just go straight to the screen. A bit like kind of, you ever seen Tony Robbins? You know that motivational speaker? Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
He has these massive screens in front of him. It was that kind of idea. So you could go, hey, Amanda in Stockholm, what's going on, man? How are you? Go live with her, and then chat to her, and then come back, and it actually made it easier to connect with people in some respects, because everybody was there and listening. You didn't have to get people to come to your show. We didn't charge. We just did it all free, and it was actually quite a special moment. So I look back at those moments kind of fondly, as well as like, oh my gosh, what a mad time that was. But we managed to grab it by the whatsits and drag it through and make it work, and throw lots of stick at the wall and see what sticks to kind of. And there's a lot of there's a lot of acts, there's a lot of guys that were in our kind of like status where we were that have finished because of lockdown, and we managed to kind of put it through, because I think we kept on with the connection.
Yes, that's a beautiful way to do it. And especially, I bet people even maybe felt a little bit safer since they're in their own house to kind of talk about these things, being in their, you're kind of your own setting instead of at a crowd. Maybe, I don't know if you felt that at all, with people just being a little bit more vulnerable since they were in their own house and they can just talk to the computer screen a bit more.
And they could talk to us live, and then we'd signpost them to I'm Possible, and then I'm Possible's got counsellors linked in the bottom. You can go and talk to Samaritans, which is a big youth agency here. You can talk to Mind, which is a big mental health agency. So you had all these links for them to get well, and we'd just say, hey, listen, even in this moment of this hour set, we won't have time to spend 15 minutes to talk with you, but please DM us. We have someone on the end of the line that's going to direct you for you to get well. So yeah, it was a very special moment to be able to connect with so many and direct so many people into wellness, I guess.
So, man, it's amazing, man. And you have the latest EP, Human, which is volume 1, that just came out last month, right? Not that long ago. And then we talked, talked about Same Line and the video, which was incredibly shot. So that's obviously volume 1. I believe I read, I don't know if you've announced this, and if you haven't, I'll cut it out, but there's 4 of them, right?
Yeah. 4 volumes, 16 songs, 4 volumes of 4. They're coming out sporadically over the next year. So every couple of months, and then there's lead singles that are dropping in between for each one. So
that's cool.
But I kind of figured the way that people digest music now, if you drop an album, it's great if you we were going to drop a 16-song album because they're all ready to go.
Okay.
I just thought 16 songs, that's done in a couple of weeks. And let's keep the content, let's keep drip feeding, let's keep putting new stuff out, new music videos. And it really helps with our kind of, I guess, our fan base looking forward to new stuff, at the algorithm of stuff, the regular, you know, you can always rely on LZ to bring something new out, and we thought, well, let's do that and create a bit of longevity, and then at the end of it, we'll put out a full 16-song album with 2 unheard songs, and it will be like a, I don't know, a platinum version, premiere version, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's rad. Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean, with the amount of stuff that comes out on I mean, Spotify's probably, I can't remember, but the number of songs that come out daily is like,
it's absolutely
unreal.
millions. It's millions, isn't it?
Yeah. So the fact that, like, I mean, not that people wouldn't want to hear the whole album at once, but it's like they may get lost because now this artist pops something out, and then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot, I got to go back and listen to Human. Like, this is, you know, you got kind of like hit from all angles.
Yeah.
How did you guys decide on, like, as far as each volume goes? Like, was it difficult to kind of put the songs in their own little packages to kind of put them out?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We kind of, because we're so diverse in the sound, we kind of go from that sort of Travis Scott trap right the way through to, so we just dropped a song now called Monster with Stephen Malcolm, who's signed to Warner Curve over in the States. And it's a really different sound to what we would normally do. But then we thought, okay, well, let's write 3 or 4 of those. So one volume of the 4 is kind of, it's called Trapped Human, and it's 4 trappy songs, not EDM. It's real kind of like heavy rap drops, big 140 kind of BPM. And we loved it. Like, we loved kind of diversifying our sound a little bit and just going for it. And then we thought, well, let's group them together and do one called Trapped Human. And it's a guy in a glass box and he's kind of trapped. And, you know, this something comes in and releases him, and bam, and again, around the mental health kind of thing. And there's like, that was easy to kind of group together. And then we took the other ones and kind of thought, well, which ones sonically sound well together, and spent like a day listening to it all and then going, that sounds well there. This one's more developed than that. This one's more kind of 128. Let's kind of group them. And yeah, it was a real thought process to it.
Yeah, I bet. And I always talk to artists because I came from radio. Like, I love I'm sure this is, you said it took a day to kind of figure it out. I would imagine, like, just even when the tracks are finished, like going through and kind of putting the order right. There's a reason why song number 7 on the album is where it is, because it wasn't just like, okay, that's the 7th song we wrote, so we're going to put it there. It's like you kind of have to curate this You're almost making your own playlist of the new music that makes sense for the album. Yeah,
exactly. And it's funny, 4 different artworks, they all fit together. So all the artworks fit together. There's a real thought process to it, and we spent the day kind of, or well, not a day, maybe a month actually, kind of working it all out. And what does it look like for the consumer of is it clear that they're going to get 4? Is it clear there's 4 songs on each one? Is it clear they're all an EP? And Chainsmokers did a very similar thing. They brought out a few EPs beforehand, and I felt like I journeyed with them a lot longer than I did with someone that dropped a 12-song album, because I listened to 2 or 3 of them, and then I skipped a couple because I didn't like them or whatever. This one, you kind of like, it's a lot easier to kind of engage with it. And that was the process of what does the consumer, the listener, what do they want to hear, and the heart behind it. And you know, that some of them are just bangers, some of them just up tempo bangers, some of them are really heartfelt. You know, there's one about adoption. We adopted two little ones, and we had this moment where we realized, well, we knew this anyway, but we were sat with like 15 other couples, and a lot of people kind of potentially have this assumption that this wasn't my plan A, this was my plan B. You know, I was meant to have homegrown kids, and that was my plan A. When you get given a profile of a child and you read the profile, and it's like this lights going on their eyes, just going, hang on a minute, this has to be plan A for them. I'm getting this opportunity to turn the page and rewrite the rest of their book. That's plan A for them. Oh my gosh, this can't be plan B for me. This is plan A. So this new song is called No Plan B and Chosen. And we don't call it adopted, we call it chosen. And so there's that song that's in there, and that needed to have some context around it, and working with an organization that looks after foster carers and adopters, and what does that look like? So when can that come out? So there's a real thought process to the whole kind of album, and you know, built around topics that are real heartfelt, like really close to my heart. Another one that's just come out on the latest one's called Pour Your Heart Out, and it's a real message of you've seen those Instagrams, I'm sure you have, where there's a guy on there, and he goes, if a guy tells you that he's aight, he's not aight. He's not talking.
Right.
He's not. Yeah, you've seen that. He's not talking. He's not telling anyone. And I was like, yo, you can call on me. Pour your heart out. And it's a real anthem, like, pour your heart out on me. And it's getting kids to talk to each other and say, tell me, pour your heart out on me. If you can't tell anyone else, don't give up on life. Talk to me. So there's real kind of like, thought processes in there to put the album together.
That's awesome. I love your guys' message. And like, because somebody goes, how are you? And you're like, oh, I'm fine. It's like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? Like,
that's not true.
It's just I don't want to bore you. I don't want to, burden you with what's going on with me. And you're like, no, I want to hear it. And this is
exactly.
a song to kind of respond to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting out of the, cabin fever, live stream setting, what was it like getting back and being able to play your first kind of gig in front of people?
We were talking about this the other day on the plane, right? We did a gig in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, our first show, and it wasn't international because that's still part of the UK, so we could fly. So just getting on a plane and sitting down, which sounds so futile, and it sounds so kind of like, what a first world problem. I was like, yeah, it is absolutely a first world problem. I literally almost cried when we took off. I was like, oh my gosh, even in a mask. And I was sitting 3 rows away from each other. And then we got to the show, and you had a certain amount of people that were allowed in the room, and they all stood in a circle 6 feet or 2 meters apart from each other, and they weren't allowed to leave that circle. So they all came in rows, and they stood in these little painted circles, and each one had a chair as well if they wanted it. And we did this gig. We did it twice, back to back, to 500 each, right?
Oh, wow.
And honestly, just being up on a stage with somebody watching, somebody there that you can connect with, see the whites of their eyes. I had tears in the back of my, I wasn't crying, but tears in the back of my eyes of just like joy, elated that we were back doing something. And halfway through the show, we did a song called Greatest of All Time, and it's got a dance to it that's a bit kind of getting sturdy, that kind of dance. And these kids started to slowly bounce towards each other. They slowly started
like,
to get closer. And it went, suddenly the track went, and I looked and I was like, what's happened? And this policeman walked on the stage, and he was like, if you get closer to each other, we're going to cancel this gig. Get back in your circles. And you could feel them like literally doing it. And I was like, yo, yeah, do me a favor. Just stay in your circles, man. As much as we're trying to vibe together, let's just have, that's your area. Just lose your stuff in that area. Keep it in that, like a little ball of energy. And but it was incredible, man. Like even last summer when we got back to, internationals, and you had like 3,000 or 4,000 in the room. But I tell you, there's a definite difference this summer than there was last summer. People were really reticent to get into mosh pits and get dancing last year because we're only just out of COVID, and I fully understand why. I'd be worried about jumping in the mosh pit last summer.
Sure, yeah.
And this year it's just been like all heck, everything's let loose and just gone for it, right? But I remember our first schools tour, our first Illuminate schools tour, and I'm talking to some grade 10s, grade 11s, and saying, we're doing the lesson, and then they'd stand up and they just didn't know what to do. And I looked at them and I said, I stopped and I said, do me a favor, just let me know. Has any of you guys ever been to a live show ever? And this is only in their school hall, like it's just one of our workshops. I said, put your hand up if you've ever been to a live gig. No one went up. And I was like, oh, wow. Of course, you went into lockdown when you were 12, 13. You've never been to a show. So I'm almost educating these kids and saying, okay, this is how it works, right? If I give out a load of energy, you give it back. I give out more energy, you give it back. And we are going to lose our minds in here and have so much fun. I said, because that's the way the live show works. The artist buzzes off the crowd buzzes off the artist, right? So when a mosh pit is, I separate you. And then after 3, when I hit 3, you run at each other, give someone the biggest hug and throw them up in the air and just bounce around. And all these kids are like, right, okay, I got it, right. And I'm going, of course. You've done 2 years of never seeing anything. You've never been to a live show. You might have watched it on YouTube, but never done it yourself. So it's like a whole education process of how people do live. But it was the most incredible feeling. It's making me excited now. I'm like, it was so good.
Yeah, how special to be the first not only it's their first live show, but you were kind enough to be like, this is how it goes. Like, not like, what are you guys doing? Let's dance. Like, you're like, No, all right, here, everybody. I know you've been stuck inside and everyone's still kind of like uncertain what's going on. This is how you dance and have a great time at a show.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
cool.
exactly. It was funny, man. It's funny.
That is. And you have more. You just played a gig, what, like last week, and you got some other coming up. I think you're playing.
We did EO last weekend, which is like a good 15,000-20,000 people in Rotterdam. And they just went bananas. Like, it was another level, and fireworks, pyro, CO2 cannons, like everything everywhere. And it was just great to be a part of it. And then we're going to Budapest, so Hungary. We've got a little tour in Colombia coming up. We've got lots of stuff in the UK. We're doing a little tour in Lisbon in Portugal as a festival called World Youth Day, which is where the Pope gathers all of the young people in the Catholic world together just to celebrate.
Oh, wow.
And have a full week of gigs, and we're going to be a part of that. So
that's
really
cool.
looking forward. Yeah, really looking forward to it. And then we're back to term time, school time, September, October, November. We've got a lot of Illuminate schools tours coming up, and then we've got this bike ride where we're cycling from Inverness, the top of Scotland, all the way to Brighton. We're doing 100 kilometers a day, 10 days. And then every time we stop, we're doing a gig in that town. So it's a town that's had Illuminate before. And it's over 10 days. So we're doing 1,000 kilometers over 10 days. So it's about 800 miles. And then we're finishing in Brighton and having a big party at the end in London to raise. We're trying to raise £150,000 so that we can do 10 Illuminate tours for free.
Wow.
So when we get to the schools, we don't have to charge. The local youth groups don't have to raise money to get us there. It's literally, we're going to come and provide this service for you over the next 2 years. So we've got that coming up. So it's a busy year, man. And then even next year, we're starting to get peppered with festivals and gigs and stuff. So it's really exciting.
That's amazing. And I imagine you have to train quite a bit for this ride.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna admit something to you. I've just shaved my legs.
Oh, there you go, dude. I was in swim when I was a kid. I've heard about it.
I've just zapped all the hairs off my legs for aerodynamics, and I'm back on a bike doing, I don't know, maybe like 100k a week, so like 30 at a time, not too far. But the only way to get fit for a bike ride is to get on a bike. There's no other way of doing it. You can't get fit doing anything. So working towards that, I'm really looking forward to it, actually.
That's cool.
And then we'll release some new music around that. But one of the guys he's a para Olympian. He stopped outside my house riding past with the Great Britain squad. The Great Britain squad are really good at cycling, and he trains with the able-bodied trainers, participants, Olympians. And they all suddenly hit the brakes, and he got off and pulled his goggles up, and he's like, "Lindz!" And I was like, "What?" And they'd all stopped. They're all in their gear just down the road. And he comes walking towards me, and he says, "You won't remember me, but you came into my school in Inverness, which is the top of Scotland, where we're going to start this ride. And you fully inspired me." She said, "I'm disabled, and I'm now a Paralympian, gold medal, Olympic record holder, world record holder. I've been to Beijing. I've been to Beijing and the latest ones." And he said, "You changed my life when you came in, the music and what you said, and how living your life on purpose." And the face side, he was like, "I love that." And I literally looked at him, and I was like, "We need to stay in contact, and I would love you to front this ride and be the voice about it." And he is. His name's Finn Graham. If you look him up, he's just like wants to do 3 legs of the ride. He's shouting about it. He's going to start doing his social media about it, and it's all because we were in his school. So it's the exact perfect mix of people to promo something like that.
That's so cool. I mean, imagine that feeling had to be so special to you, that this person that you're like, I know it works as far as like changing kids' lives and talking to them, but have somebody stop and be like, you've changed my life. I've done all these things because of you showing up to my school. Like, how cool, man. How cool.
Proper special. Yeah, it's good.
Well, I appreciate your time, Lindz. Thank you so much for doing this, man. It's so great to catch up with you.
Drama, man. Thanks so much for having us, man.
Yeah, I have one more quick question before I let you go.
Go for it.
Actually, 2. It's beautiful where you're at. What city are you in currently?
I'm in an island called Jersey, which is probably the original settlers from New Jersey probably came from here.
Oh, really?
And
beautiful.
Jersey, it's between France and England. It's an English island that is, you know, it's gorgeous. You can see it.
So wow, that's
just
amazing.
And we're doing like 3 days vacation here after the festival run.
I love it.
And then flying back to England ready for next week. So get back at it. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Amazing. And my last question is if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh man, like learning your skill, learning your trade. You know, it's the same as becoming a bricklayer. The only way you learn it is by doing it, and you know, taking those opportunities, pushing those doors. And I think for me, the one thing that someone taught me a long time ago, and this isn't like a fake thing to do, but is always be the guy that crosses the room. Like always be the guy that's open to chat to people, and you meet. Obviously, artists are creative, and creative can create kind of like an insular sort of brain space, and sometimes, you know, people can misconstrue the way an artist is, but I just decided that even in all the creativity and the madness of getting to places is to go, yo man, what's your name? It's lovely to meet you, man. My name's Lindz. Yo, and you know, even in schools lessons, learning 10 names of the school kids so that when they get to the gig, I can call them out.
Wow.
So be the guy that crosses the room, and it changes everything because people see the authenticity of who you are, and you know, you're pushing through to make stuff happen, but it's authentic. It's not fake. Bringing it backwards.